What's up everyone, and welcome back to the Bold and the Beautiful 24 official channel. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button today. Let's get started. Who is more at risk? Lee or Brooke? The Bold and the Beautiful celebrates Brooke Logan's reunion with her true love. However, Ridge Forrester's most recent declaration of love was quickly followed by a fresh threat from his son, who appeared to be unstable once more. By saving Luna Nozawa's life on the operating table and then giving her a second chance at freedom in the months that followed, Lee Nozawa did the most selfless act of kindness. However, Luna's wildly careless and utterly unappreciative actions have totally discredited what her grandma and aunt accomplished. However, given that Luna's staged death has come to light, does Lee's legal danger outweigh the harm Thomas Forrester poses to Brooke? Once more, Thomas Forrester is unhinged. After being heartbroken by Hope Logan Brooke's daughter, Thomas fled Los Angeles, California. Hope's decision to enter into a transactional relationship with Thomas in response to Liam Spencer's frequent visits to Steffi Forrester Finnegan might be described as risky. Buckingham was a suspicion after returning from Forrester Europe without Paris. Thomas quickly informed her that his engagement was over. Despite their brief relationship, Thomas and Paris used Douglas Forrester to forge a familial bond. So much so that when the three of them last visited Los Angeles, he called her mother in front of Hope. Thus, Thomas is left alone when this link is not recognized. Additionally, as the Amazing Hope mannequin plotline shown, he veers off track with too much singularity, as fans are aware. Additionally, Brooke and loyal viewers will never forget his attempt to murder his brother and her son with Rick and Eric Forrester. Luna Nozawa establishes an unassailable position. Instead of lying low forever, Luna came up with a strategy and carried it out. Like Lee did when she falsely declared John Finn Finnegan dead, she didn't care that Lee jeopardized her medical license. Lee's legal efforts to find a way back to genuine freedom were similarly ignored by Luna. Luna, on the other hand, planned to become the mother of Will Spencer's pregnancy. However, the results of multiple pregnancy tests indicate that Luna is not pregnant, therefore that plan is nullified. She then foolishly texted Will, which caused him to track her down. Lee Nozawa and Brooke Logan are having issues. It's reasonable to say that Brooke and Lee are both in danger in this case, rather than having a clear winner or loser. Thomas accuses Brooke of causing his father to end his mother's engagement and destroy her heart. His attention to Lang's character is evidently intense, as Brooke questions Thomas's intentions and how she may defend herself. Lee might easily be denounced to the authorities for her part in Luna's careless disclosure, just as her hospital colleague Grace Buckingham was lately because of the fabricated tumor hoax. Those in the know must sympathize with the incredibly soap opera situation Lee permitted if she is to escape jail or career ruin. In this complex, high-stakes tale of passion and secrecy, the Bold and the Beautiful thrives on questions of risk, loyalty, betrayal, and love. Few questions are as weighty as whether Brooke Logan or Lee Nozawa is more at risk because, although Brooke has reunited with Ridge Forrester and is enjoying the brief glow of a love she has reclaimed after years of broken circles and broken vows, that happiness is overshadowed by Thomas Forrester's instability. Lee stands as the woman who bravely saved Luna Nozawa on the operating table and later made the impossible decision to shield her from the full consequences of her reckless life, but the fallout from Luna's staged death and her defiance of Lee's sacrifices now threatens to drag Lee down into professional ruin and even criminal exposure. This is in contrast to a man who has repeatedly spiraled into obsession, vengeance, and near tragedy. Therefore, when analyzing the fates of these two women, we must analyze every emotional tie, legal risk, and personal grudge circulating through Los Angeles. This begins with Thomas, who is destabilized by his father Ridge's decision to reunite with Brooke instead of staying with Taylor Hayes and devastated by Hope Logan's rejection. Thomas finds himself teetering once more on the brink of the dangerous singularity that characterizes his darkest arcs, a place where his genius for design and vision at Forrester Creations transforms into delusion, obsession. Brooke finds herself in the crosshairs in this mental space because Thomas does not see her as just his father's wife, but as the woman who broke his mother's heart, the person whose presence serves as a constant reminder of Taylor's rejection. As a result, Brooke becomes more than just a rival. She is a target who has the potential to rekindle his most destructive impulses, making her risk immediate, visceral, and potentially violent. However, if Brooke's risk stems from Thomas's psychological instability, Lee's danger stems from the law itself, from the heartbreaking reality of having falsified medical records, hidden Luna's survival, and conspired in a scheme that, if discovered, could cost her her medical license, her freedom, and her reputation. Because, in contrast to Brooke, whose weapon is emotional fortitude, charm, and the unwavering protection of Ridge and her family, Lee is vulnerable to the cold, ruthless hand of the state, the same justice system she once used to defend Finn from Sheila Carter. And it is here that Luna's self-centered disobedience heightens Lee's risk because, instead of paying tribute to her grandmother's sacrifices, Luna devised a scheme to permanently tie herself to the Spencer dynasty by claiming to be carrying Will Spencer's child. A ruse that backfired with multiple negative pregnancy tests, humiliating her and linking Lee to a larger pattern of dishonesty. Although Luna's texts to Will rekindled the chaos that exposed her survival, the real danger lies with Lee because the medical community will not forgive her for breaking the Hippocratic Oath, violating her legal obligations, and taking a reckless gamble with the truth. The irony is that both women Brooke and Lee are connected by their proximity to unstable forces beyond their control. Thomas, whose eyes burn with resentment and unresolved pain, and Luna, whose desperate desire to fit in with the Spencers echoes her great-grandmother Sheila Carter's manipulative playbook. As a result, the question of risk is not just about who, but also about what kind, as Brooke jeoparded her life and emotional stability in the face of a man who once nearly destroyed her family with his twisted affection for her daughter, while Lee risks her career. As the story progresses, Ridge's position adds another layer of complexity because, although Brooke has survived decades of scandal, affairs, betrayals, and heartbreak, his decision to stand by her makes Thomas angry and blind to the danger that Brooke faces. In his eyes, Brooke has always been the love of his life and the woman who saves him, but this very devotion makes her vulnerable. Thomas's rage is fueled by the belief that Ridge abandoned Taylor for Brooke once again, which could lead to a return to the kind of sinister machinations that once involved mannequins, forged letters, and near-fatal altercations with Rick. When fans ask who is more at risk, the answer is complicated because Brooke's risk is emotional and physical, the constant threat of Thomas's unbridled wrath and his potential to lash out violently or plot against her family, and Lee's unwavering sense of responsibility and the moral weight she carries as a doctor, mother, and guardian have always been her Achilles heel. This weight has now turned into a legal noose tightening around her neck because, as demonstrated by Grace Buckingham's own downfall over a fabricated tumor, the medical board and authorities in Los Angeles are brutal when medical deception is exposed, and Lee knows that should the truth about Luna's staged death emerge, she will not only face professional censure but possibly criminal indictment, leaving her son Finn devastated and her life's work in ruins. However, soap operas thrive on irony, so it's possible that Brooke's risk, though immediate, will be mitigated by Ridge's protection and the Forrester family's unity, while Lee's risk, though less visible, will spread quietly until the moment of reckoning arrives in a courtroom or a disciplinary hearing, leaving her shattered in a way even Sheila Carter could never accomplish. Lee's risk is institutional and irreversible, the loss of everything she has built, everything she represents, and everything she sacrificed to save Luna, a granddaughter who, in her hubris, may be the very instrument of Lee's downfall. In the world of the bold and the beautiful, the greatest risk is always the one you least expect. Brooke Logan may survive Thomas Forrester's rage because she has survived every scandal and betrayal before, but Lee Nozawa may not survive the icy judgment of the law, making her not Brooke the one who is actually most at risk. Unless, of course, the writers decide to deliver a shocking twist in which Thomas, unable to control his fractured mind, crosses a line so dangerous that Brooke herself becomes the tragic victim of his unraveling.